So, hi Lubna, welcome to Equal Time for Free Thought radio show. I'm going to ask you a few questions throughout the next hour. I think it is important to highlight that you never been a Muslim because you never practiced the religion, right?
That's correct. I've never practiced Islam. It's true that my family, my mom and my father, they are Muslims, but for me, in my household, with my mother, and with my siblings, we've never practiced Islam. I was never forced to do prayers or to wear headscarf because, like I mentioned, most people know about me and my family. My mom, she's an atheist. She started to think for herself, to think about religions and, to think about life and the human being's brain. So she started to think like that, and eventually she raised me and my siblings in a free space so we can think and so we can use our brains to, analyze everything, not to be followers, blind followers, like, in most Islamic countries, people do that. Muslims actually, they don't practice their religion completely. They just follow, they are, blind followers to this religion. When you come to the Middle Eastern countries like my country, when you talk to people and ask them about Islam and certain verses in the Quran or Hadith, they don't have any idea about it.
Well,
the only thing they know is that they are Muslims. They came from a Muslim woman, a Muslim mom, and a Muslim dad. That's the only thing they know about themselves. Other than that, they don't know much about their religion.
It's a very similar issue also among people that belong to other religions, including the Western world. Usually, non-believers know about religions more than religious people. It is pretty much the same with Christian people, Catholic people.
Yes, yeah. That's what I believe, because for us as human beings, we all relatively atheists. What I mean by that, if you want to be a true believer, you have to literally practice the religion you are following or you believe in. Like you have to literally, follow what Jesus did or what Muhammad did or what Abraham did, And at that point, I think you're a true believer. Other than that, we are not believers. We are all atheists because religions are against the human nature. You can't be perfect, and even that goes for the prophets themselves. They weren't, perfect. They weren't ideal. All of them were, they were looking for the power, for the money, for, having something, and that's what Muhammad did. In Islam, Muhammad was, he was a poor man. He wasn't the leader in his tribe. So he dreamed about power, about money, about a lot of things. And he was genius by that time because he dreamed of about that, and he accomplished that in a very short time by claiming that he's the messenger of God and that there is a God, sent him to be to have the people in the right direction. So I guess we were born without knowing nothing about God or religions till we came to our societies, to our communities, to our, families. At that point, we learned that there is God and there is, religions, and we have to follow these, religions in order to be, in the eyes of the society and the community to be respected and well, and treated in a good way. That's what I believe. That's yeah.
So you grew up in Baghdad, Iraq, am I right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I grew up in Baghdad with my family. My mom, she raised me and my siblings by herself. Actually, after going through a hard marriage with my father. So she took the responsibility to raise me and my siblings. She divorced my dad, and in the middle, in the Islamic countries or the Middle Eastern countries, when a woman applies for a divorce, she has to drop all her rights in order to take the children to raise them. And that's what my mom actually did. She accepted that, and she took me and my siblings to raise us. And beside that, it's a sign of shame in the Arabic societies that you have a divorced woman because she brings the shame to her family and to her children and to the whole society. So yeah, I grew up in Baghdad in an Islamic community, but I was never. I don't think I believed in that religion. I started to ask questions. I started to think about this religion. I started to discuss certain verses when we used to have Islamic lessons. It's about Quran and Hadiths. And from that, I was faced with a lot of, horrible or, terrible things. I was slapped, I was kicked out of school because I was outspoken about certain things in my religion, in Islam, actually. So, it was hard from the beginning.
May I ask you, I know that your mother played a big role in your childhood probably and the teenager phase, but do you think you nevertheless had some sort of innate proneness to question things aside your mother? I think I'm saying.
You mean beside if my mother weren't there, I would ask?
Yeah, my question is, do you think you had some innate passion to question things? Especially in a culture like an Islamic culture like Iraq, where things are very limited, restricted.
Well, I guess so. I think, I can, but like I said before, the family, it's important to have a family to support your beliefs. If not, I think I would do that. I wouldn't, hesitate about, being an atheist, because I think that's in my personality to be outspoken. But in general, maybe I'm not saying that I'm different, or I know that I'm a tiny person in this world, but other than me, you have a lot of atheists in my country. It's not a lot, but I met people, and I met, students who were atheists, but they couldn't share that with their families, and they were afraid to share it even with themselves sometimes. But when they knew about me, and when we used to talk, they used to come in and talk to me about it. So I guess if I'm understanding your question right, having a family to support your beliefs is important, so you will not be afraid to share that with others.
Right.
You will not be afraid to have others to join you, to make a movement in a country like mine, because it's important in Iraq to start something like that. People in my country, they don't believe in God, they don't believe in Islam, from what I saw when I lived there. The only thing that they are concerned about is the delusion. If they don't believe if they say that no, we don't believe in us, for example, in God, they feel that they're alone. They are not connected to, like I say, a super, natural power. They will,
they are lost.
They will have fear, right? So, and that's not with them. That's with the Christians, with the Jews.
It's very. It's very hilarious because without God they have fear of being lost, but with God, they have probably even more fear of doing something wrong, fear of questioning. For instance, you said something about. I agree. It's important to have a family that supports our belief, but being non-believer is not really about having beliefs. It's about questioning. So I think it's even more important to have a family that supports our processes of questioning. That's very important. I wanted to ask you also something else. Have you ever somehow struggled with the desire to believe, so to fit in your society?
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry.
Yes, because recently I came across a person, and this person is a non-believer, but this person said, I really would like to believe in God. I just cannot believe in God, but I really would like, because that will be a way to fit in my society and also my relatives, my siblings. So my question is, maybe when you were younger, have you ever struggled with the desire to believe, so to fit in your society?
Well, at the beginning, yes. I was struggling because I was afraid, like them. I was thinking, yes, I am a believer. I should believe in something, and I will get punished for not believing into something. I truly struggled with that. But actually, when I have a mom like my mom, she gave me the space to really think and to question. We used to, for me and for my siblings, we used to sit with her and we used to discuss things. One of the times I remember, I told her, what if I said, I hate God, or I don't believe in God? And she replied and she said, you have the right to say that, because God, is something we hold. I mean, there is God in every one of us. There is gods in the human beings' population. So when you feel angry, when you feel like you are left alone, she told me you have the right to say that, to feel that, because you will not get punished, because this life we live in, we can make it hell or heaven. There is no afterlife. When we go and when we die, there's nothing. We will just die, and that's it. That's what she told me. And from that, I'm not saying that I didn't feel that no, now I'm okay. I don't have these fears. No, but I was constantly thinking about what she said to me, and with time I quit. I didn't feel that I have struggled, because it's true. This life, what we do, what we believe in, we can convert it to be, for us, to be hell or heaven. And I think religions are personal practice. You can believe in whatever you want. Whatever that makes you feel true to yourself, feel comfortable with what you do. It's important in order to have this, to have the humanity to rise up again. Because now in this world, we are losing the sense of a humanity, of joining a group to fight for the true, causes. It's all about corruption. It's all about, taking away the rights of others, of the weak people. So, yeah.
I think the main problem about beliefs is that, etymologically speaking, the origin of the word religion, I believe, came from Latin, and the meaning was to stay together as people.
Yes.
Was not about staying together out of belief systems, and then we shaped that in that way. Like we think, many people think, probably most people think that to stay together we need a belief, because without a belief we have no morality and all the rest of that. I wanted to ask you something. I saw your interview with Dave Rubin in his Rubin report, and if I'm not wrong, please correct me. I remember you calling yourself a coward. Is that true?
Well, I guess because I left my country,
What do you mean by that exactly?
Well, I mean because I should have. Actually, if we just leave, countries like, I used to do a lot of things. I used to fight for my thoughts and have some people to join me. Actually, I used to publish things and write about certain verses in Al-Quran, and criticize that. I think that's, if I want a change in my country, I should stay and fight for that. But after I left my country, I feel in a way that, I betrayed what I did, and that leads to, feel that I am a coward, because I should have stayed there and I'm sorry.
Don't worry.
And fight for what I believed in, because the first interview with Mr. Dave Rubin, I wasn't afraid, because it's time for someone to talk. I know I'm a tiny person, I know, and I do realize that, but people do say that if one start the way, maybe others will join. And I came in with my full identity, and I believe that maybe people will see me and they will be convinced that it's time to talk. It's time to be in the light again. For us, as non-believers, we didn't do anything wrong in this life. We didn't harm anyone. In my country, you have tourists can walk the streets, can kill people, and no one will, catch them or do anything to them. And for me, I am a woman and a non-believer. I got to be attacked, harassed, and physically attacked in my country for just putting thoughts and ideas and discussing things in my religion. They should have punished me for that.
Of course.
So I guess I feel coward in a ways because I betrayed what I did in my country.
I think that objectively speaking, you are not a coward at all. I think, as you keep saying, you are a tiny person. We are all tiny people, and when we try to make a difference, we try to do our tiny actions, but we try to do the best we can. I think that what you are doing is incredibly courageous, and realistically speaking, you were not supposed to be allowed to do what you're doing now, speaking out, for instance, in your country, because you probably get killed, but outside, so without that risk, you can do that, and it doesn't make you into a person that betrayed your country. It actually makes you into a person that cares about your country. And by using this word fighting, this is what you're doing now, and this is incredibly courageous. So you're not...
Thank you so much, and I hope one day in my country people will start to think for themselves and start to change the things in my country, because as you know, Iraq been through a lot of wars, and it's going, worse every day, every minute. Till this day, a lot of bad things going on up there, and believe me, the media and this whole world doesn't know a lot about what is really going on in Iraq. I hope one day I can see children and women, especially in my country, happy and have their rights back, because for me as a woman and for my mom, we've lost our rights. I've never seen a happy day in my life in my country. The only thing that I cared about is having my thoughts out there and having people to interact with people like me and support our cause and have something done in my country. This is what I truly care about.
I believe this is what you are doing. Many other people like you are doing the same, and it is logical to do it from the outside, not because it's easier, but because outside of a country like an Islamic country like your country is, you have more rights, you have the freedom of speech, you can generate material such as videos, interviews, articles,
yes.
And eventually people that think your way in your country can come across that, and in time they can get organized more and more and more. And this is the best way to fight. I personally, I'm a founder of an organization that is called the EOF Project. So EOF stands for End of Fear, meaning end of irrational fears, not the natural fears we have. A big part of the project is about the development of an educational program based on critical thinking, hardcore critical thinking. For instance, I believe that the religious scriptures should be a matter of study in education, not to indoctrinate the children, of course, but to make the students aware about the absurdities in such books and the contradiction, the incongruency of the gods described in these books.
Exactly, that's
like
right.
The violence of apostasy. I came across Muslim people that claimed that the Quran is an example of absolute morality. And what I always ask them is, what is moral with the crime of apostasy, which is a victimless crime? A person must be killed. So do you think that will be very beneficial in terms of promotion of secular values and good thinking skills to actually make the students learn the religious books properly without a priest or an imam or a person there to interpret, but really understanding the absurdity of the description of God?
Well, I think what you said, what do you mean, is that...
I mean, imagine students that, because the problem, as we say, that probably most religious people do not really read accurately their books.
Yes. Well, I guess what I said, I mean, the educational system is the key to, create more secular, intellectual generations. That's for sure. But other than that, the religious guys and the mosques in Islamic countries, they don't know actually, I'm not saying anything, but they don't know a lot about their religion. They are claiming that they are, they know everything about it. No, they are hypocrites who are making advantage of what they are doing. Actually, a lot of monks and religious guys in my country, they make a lot of money by claiming that they are, they have the authority to, to be in such Islamic parties like Hizb al-Da'wah, Hizb Ansar Allah, Hizb Allah, and and they make a lot of money, and they have power, and they control the whole government in my country, for example. For me, I think building such a secular, I think secular thinking in schools in general can be done in the Western countries, but in my countries, no, I don't think that, because now I don't think that it's gonna happen now, but because you have a lot of things going on. The things that is, the economy, it's a very important, the economy, because if you are living in a poor country, you will not achieve that. People will easily follow, for example, religions and religious guys. So the socio-economics and the geopolitics is a very important two factors that play the major role in creating secular intellectual communities. Other than that, we will not get an intellectual community. For Muslims, actually, they are. I don't want to say that all of them are hypocrites. No, there are Muslims who are very peaceful, and they practice Islam. They don't have to declare themselves as, look at us, we are Muslims, you have to join Islam, because Islam is the only religion that this whole world will join in at the end. No, but in generally speaking, you have, I guess I can say, bad Muslims who know their religion and who sometimes laugh at certain verses or certain hadiths, but at the same time they claim that their religion is is moral and is all about the good things and is all about the peace, but they are fooling you and fooling the Western communities that Islam is a peaceful religion, and Islam can be Islam can be transferred to be a very more not a very more, but can go with the with the secular values now. And this is what I'm seeing from these the talk about the reformation of Islam and all these talks about it. Actually, I don't believe in reformation. What I believe in now for Muslims should leave this religion and should pay attention to what this religion is leading them to. It's always about wars. The Middle East is the only area in this universe. Let me say it like this: in this universe, that there are lots of wars going on, a lot of killings. going on. I've never seen in such countries or in any spot in this world. So I truly believe that one day, not now, not in the near future, people in my country will pay more attention to have their children to be left alone and learn more about their religion away from the the schools, and have them to be more about the critical thinking and more about analyzing things when they read, and hopefully that will be done in the far future.
Hopefully.
From understanding you correctly, yes.
We are working on it. I agree very much with you about the impossibility to reform Islam, because we cannot reform the idea of God. We can only reason about it, and we can eliminate it from our life. And I really hope that we will see a future where religion will be a matter of study at school, a matter of the past, when we finally left religion. And you know what you said about peaceful Muslims. I know there are peaceful Muslims, there are peaceful Christian people, there are peaceful Buddhist, Hindus. But the problem is that even if these people are peaceful, they preach, they indoctrinate their children and people around them with scriptures that are not peaceful at all. And not only the Quran, also the Bible. The Bible is incredibly violent. It's all about killing. It's not all about, but often about killing, contradictions. So this is the problem. I often come across people that raise this argument, but there are many peaceful religious people. Yes, it's true. They are even incapable to kill a fly, but the problem is that they don't know that indoctrinating their children with violent beliefs can eventually produce a future generation of people that are not as peaceful as their parents, and then eventually they are violent. There is this common issue in the Western world that some people say religion is something, religious fanaticism is something else. My approach is there will not be religious fanaticism without religion. So they are absolutely linked. And talking about moderation or moderate Islam, reformation of Islam, to me personally makes zero sense. And the other thing I wanted to ask you, many people claim that without religions we will not have morality. What can we say about this?
Well, no, it's not about religions, actually, the morality. The ethics and the morality exists within us. If you are a bad person, religion will not prevent you to be bad or will make you good or bad. I mean, religions, it's only, it's written and created by human beings. So morality is something, it's a relative thing, we as human beings, we are all created with different, with different thinking, and that what led to the diversity that we live in now, right? So if people talking about morality exists with religion, no, I don't believe in that. You can be bad and you can claim to be a good person at the same time by following a certain religion. And this is what, most of the monks and religious guys in my country do. They are, under the table, we say it like that, away from the people, the eyes of the people. They act in a, they act the opposite, from their religion. They claim that they don't drink, for example, alcohol. They don't have relations with women outside, the marriage zone. And they do that, in the reality. There were it's not a lot, but there were reports about religious guys who drank, who did a lot of bad things. But when they come to you with their meetings, they claim, oh, God said that, and God said this, and you see them, they look like angels. So, no, morality is created within us. We can't be bad, we can't be good, and nothing will prevent you from being bad or good. Nothing.
That's right.
You will end up bad person, or you will end up a good person. This is what I believe.
Yeah, not many people know that morality has actually biological roots in our brain. We do have a natural morality, and what we should do, we should cultivate it with critical thinking and logic. And I personally believe that we cannot have firm morality without proper critical thinking. And as I said, a person can be a very good Muslim or Christian, a very nice person, and trying to live a righteous life, but nevertheless, just because that person doesn't question the personal beliefs, the person is not moral, because there is nothing moral in indoctrinating the children.
Yes.
It's not moral. It cannot possibly be moral. It doesn't matter if it is peaceful or not.
Well, actually, when I started to question things when I was 14 years old, 13, something like that. So I would ask my mom, what is God? Because in my country, from the beginning, they will have us on schools to have Islamic lessons, to read Quran, to discuss verses in these classes, and you are forced to attend these classes. If you will not attend it, you will be, fail in the school and so on. So I started to ask about God. What is God? Is he a male or female? Why we should believe in a God, and why we should follow Islam. If I want to be a Christian, so that's with my family. But when I started to ask in the school, the first question is, all of us, as human beings, we ask, what is the definition of God? Who's God? And why he's not present in a physical, figure. So I asked my teacher, is God a man or a woman? And she got angry. And she told me I'm not allowed to ask that, because God is a holy thing. And if I ever would think like that, God will punish me, and I will go to hell. So I put that, and the questions, once you answered by that, your mind will be more curious about things. So I would go to my family and to my mom, and I will discuss these things with her, and after that I was asking about a lot of things concerning the headscarf, because at a certain age we should wear headscarf when we read Quran in these classes. So at age of 15, 16, I was forced to wear the headscarf during these classes. So I would ask why we wear headscarves, and the boys, they don't wear headscarf when they read Quran. And I was slapped for asking that by my teacher, because she told me, God don't want to see you don't want to see your hair because God ordered you to put headscarf. And I would ask her, He created my hair, so why would He want me to hide it? He would see my hair anyways. So she got me out of the class, actually, and she told the principal of the school to kick me out. And I was kicked from 2 schools. And the second thing I was asking about Muhammad and his life. One of the times I asked why we should believe in a man that, in a man, I'm not saying that from that age I started to believe he created this religion, no, but why we should believe in Muhammad? Because God sent him, and who's God? I've never actually got the answer of what is God, the definition of God. They always told us something in the skies, but I need, a specific answer, and no one gave me that answer. So one of the times I told my teacher, if you don't answer my question, what is God, and what is the nature of that thing? So why should I believe in Muhammad? Why should I believe that he's the messenger of this thing that you can't answer my question for? And that time I was also kicked out, and I was reported to my mom that she should raise me in a good way. My mom also, they told her that there is something wrong with, raising me, and, I should be, attend a more, Islamic lessons outside the school, in the mosques, so I can, believe in something, or I don't know. So this is, the things that I faced from an early age.
Wow.
Actually.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I went through, because I grew up in a Catholic environment.
Yes.
My parents were not Catholic, but they had the same values. So they sent me to the religious classes, and once I got kicked out because I asked to the teachers, I asked them, I was a child, I asked, if there is a God, I think he should be intelligent enough to like questions, because without questions there is no intelligence and there is no progress. So why God doesn't like questions? And obviously they got furious, and they kicked me out of it. But certainly my environment was not as violent as your environment, because they don't kill you if you don't like God.
Yes, even the students, I was attacked by them. One of the times I remember, one of the students, she cut my hand with a very sharp, not knife, with a very sharp thing, and I was having blood, because I was daring to question things, and I wasn't, put in a headscarf. I refused all these ideas. So, I mean, it's not about the teachers, and it's about even the people. The people they are the one who, I believe that. They are the one who can create, who can, make governments run for them. And so in the small communities, people will make more, violent movements against a person they don't, not specifically like, but they don't, want in their, community. So this is one of the times I have students, they cut my hand, and it was really bad at the time, actually.
How old were you at that time?
I was, I guess, 17.
Wow.
At that time, yeah.
Have you ever been in a situation where you really risked your life, your safety?
Yes. Actually, when I did the interview with Mr. Dave Rubin, it went viral. But before that, yes. When I started to attend college, I actually got accepted in the chemical engineering college, and I would speak out loud. I would, especially with the women, because, in my country, women are very difficult and very sad, their situation. For women, if you don't wear a headscarf, it means you are non-believer and you are against your religion, and people will harass you and attack you the whole time. So for my mom, she was attacked by her divorce from my dad, and the second thing, she was attacked by the refusal of wearing headscarf, because people will always tell you it's easy to put headscarf. No, it's not easy, because you will let go your principles, your true identity. It's not about, it's a piece of cloth, but it means a lot, if you put that. It will erase your true identity, your struggle in this life.
It's not a piece. It's not only a piece of fabric. Is an identity.
Exactly.
Is an identity to fit. Is a way to say I belong to this. So it's not only. It's not easy to wear that, because it's not about wearing a piece of fabric. It's about wearing a belief. In the Western world, especially today, there is a very common easiness to defend the concept of freedom of religion. To me, we should not ignore that the freedom of religion implies necessarily the freedom to indoctrinate, especially the children, because there cannot be religion or freedom of religion without indoctrination.
Exactly, yes.
To me, it is a big problem in the Western world, because freedom of religion is often considered as a good value, but to my mind, instead is something very violent and dysfunctional for the sake of having a healthy society. What do you have to say about this topic?
The freedom of religion. Speaking nowadays, I don't see, from my side, I can't see that the freedom of religion is what they call it, because what Muslims created in these countries. I'm talking from a very narrow side here, because I'm more related to what Muslims, did in these countries, and we've never, known this concept, as my knowledge, not till these days. It's everywhere now, the freedom of religion. Actually, Muslims in Islam created that gap because they are attacking people in the West. They want these people, the whole world, to convert to be a Muslim. And so the left and the political correctness they use can, include that concept, the freedom of religion. They want Muslims to live peacefully in the West, but they don't. They will not rest, the Muslims, till all the people convert to Islam. And that's what Muhammad did when he first, came to Mecca. When he started his message, he started with a very small group of people, telling them that God sent him, you should follow God, and I am his messenger, till he got the chance to have a large amount of people when he immigrated to Al-Medina and have all these people. He came back to Mecca and forced the people there to convert to Islam. The freedom of religion is not a true topic that...
I believe that each one of us is supposed to be allowed to believe whatever the person wants to believe. But it's...
Yes, this is...
but not allowed to indoctrinate, because we can have absurd beliefs that maybe apparently they are not harmful, but when we start to indoctrinate them, they can really become dogmatic, then fallacious, and then they can really become seriously dangerous. And for instance, like I recently heard about a girl in Sweden who has been sentenced with 2 years in prison because she was mocking Islam on social media. And in Sweden, a Muslim person who raped a girl from Sweden has been sentenced with only 22 days. I think this is very dangerous. What do you think about Islamophobia in the Western world?
Actually, this is what I'm trying to say. The freedom of religions, we always, like I said, all of us, we have certain points and beliefs in our lives, and we shouldn't, have this concept, the freedom of religions, now, because I get to have my children, for example, I would just leave them to think and to believe in what they want. There shouldn't be a freedom of religion, but I mean, for this concept is now popular. Why? Because they want the left and other people who are using the political correctness to have it, like a pass for Muslims to be in the West. But other than that, I do believe there is no such a thing like Islamophobia. I mean, not what I mean is that. I mean,
I agree. Because
we should discuss this religion. People get afraid when you mention Islam. No, I mean, you should now criticize and discuss this religion, because I've never seen a Christian killing others for not joining his religion. And we see that with Muslims. They come to the West and they kill people. They tell them that you are kafirs or non-believers, and you don't have any morals in this life, and you should be killed for that.
Yeah.
I've never seen that with a Christian or with a Jewish guy or a woman doing that.
Well, the Christian people did it, like with Holy Inquisitions a long time ago. Was pretty much I believe that Islam has been always in a state of middle age thinking, but Christians do not do that any longer now. But the problem with Islamophobia, phobia is a term that means irrational fears.
A fear of something.
I think it's very rational to fear people that believe in a book that preaches crazy things, such as apostasy. It's very I'm not irrationally afraid. I'm rationally afraid, because I don't want to see a world dominated by people that believe in crazy things. So I agree. Islamophobia, I think, is an invention created out of political correctness.
Created to shut the mouths of the people who want to, discuss and put Islam on the table.
That's right.
Anytime you would ask about Islam, he's Islamophobic. And what's that? You should, leave that aside and come to the table and discuss this religion. Because if you use the political correctness to save the West, it's not working. If you are defending what, Muslims do, and defending, for example, the hijab or the headscarf, it's the free choice for Muslim women in the West, is not working. What you are doing is having, Islam to dominate even more. Is having crazy people, crazy Muslims, like, ISIS and what they do, to dominate even more, and having their thoughts and the Islamic, I'm not saying the Wahhabism thought to be even, have a domination in the Middle East. No, there is no such a Wahhabism thinking. Islam is an extreme, dangerous, political ideology. It's not a religion even. It's an ideology created by, I'm not saying Muhammad, but when you see the history of Islam, it wasn't even created by Muslims. It was created by what is now believed a Jewish Christian tribe called Al-Nasara. So Islam is the combination of Judaism and Christianity. Islam is like a notebook, a short book for what Moses did or what Jesus did. And the only different part was Muhammad's part. You know, you realize that in Quran, the only prophet was mentioned is Moses. It's about, I guess, 40 times in Quran, and you have maybe 2 times or 3 times Muhammad was mentioned in Al-Quran. So from that you can see Islam is the creation of not even, you know, Muslims did. So they have, for Muslims now, they have to be shame of that, of following this religion. They have to let that go and believe in, you know, in the scientific, you know, evolution, in the critical thinking, in the secular intellectual thinking, and beside that, you just leave that and start to think for yourself, for the next generation, because I cannot convince a 20 years old man or woman, or even a 15 years old teenager, to now rethink about his religion, to, you know, think in an open way, to use your mind to analyze things. I cannot now, but what we can do is think, you know, for the next generation.
Well,
so we can have a more, you know, developed, a more intellectual generation, not like this. Yeah.
That's precisely my approach, and as we say, the key is education. We do not have to reform religions; we have to reform education. Yeah. My approach personally, when I come across a religious person that is willing to talk, I say to the person, please don't call yourself a Christian, don't call yourself a Muslim person, because you're not. You are a human being that was born in an environment characterized by this or that ideology. So if you were born in India, you will probably be Hindu. If you were born in Iraq, you will probably be Muslim. If you were born in North Carolina, you will probably be a Jesus believer. Just to conclude, what you want to do for your future in terms of speaking out and trying to develop, establish, promote all the values we were talking about, also in education?
Well, I hopefully can get people to listen to me. I know, again, I'm not making a huge difference here, but, you know, like what we said before, tiny things and tiny stories can create something. So I hopefully would love to see more people interact with the stories like mine, and I hopefully can join an organization or maybe create one in the future to call for the true identity that individuals can make difference in their communities. I'm talking about the individual identity, because this is what this world is all about. This is why we have a diverse world, because we all are different in a bad ways, in a good ways, and that's what, you know, what shapes our societies, our communities. So in the future, I would love to create something that promote these ideas and can, you know, make people more comfortable, and you know, ex-Muslims or atheists in the Middle East, to share their stories, their voices, because I believe there are worse than my case. There are women, especially women, because men can, in my communities, they will not appear to be an atheist or non-believer or they don't believe in Islam. No, because they are not, forced to put headscarf. But women, they are forced to put headscarf as a sign she's a believer, for example. So I would love to create something for women and children, and share my story with others so they can join me in this fight. I would love to.
I think it's absolutely fantastic, necessary, and you have all of my support and my appreciation. So
thank you so much.
Before we finish, I really wanted to ask you something. Can you please stop considering yourself a coward? Just you do.
Well, it's a true. It's the reality. Actually, you cannot. But I can't. But what I can now is to share my story and not, like I said, and get more people in my country and other countries to speak out.
And this is very important. This is what you're doing.
Yes.
It's very courageous, and it's really wonderful that you do that.
Thank you so much, Mr. Diego. Appreciate your time.
I like you call me Mr. Diego. It sounds so strange to me. Anyway,
thank you so much.
I really thank you so much as well, and please just keep in touch.
Thank you so much for having me, and I'm really grateful for you and for all the people who would listen to that, and hopefully they can, join to help ex-Muslims, atheists in the Middle East, because they are the generation who will get, the Middle East to, I think, to a good spot or, good situation in the far future. So I would love to, from them and from you, to support, our stories, and this is what I really hope so. So thank you for having me again.
Thank you so much as well.
I'm really glad we talked. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.